here's Jimmy Dore. And again, like, we were just talking about, sometimes your living depends upon a certain perspective. Here's Jimmy Dore talking about, really, you want to talk about depoliticizing people. Here's Jimmy Dore on his take on the slightly expanded squad.
I don't care if Cory Bush just got elected and fucking Jamal Bowman and the squad, and they're there to fake you out. Progressives inside the Democratic Party are there to fuck you up and fake you out. They're not there to help you. So this idea that somehow now Cory Bush and Jamal Bowman is going to somehow add to the heft of the progressive caucus is just a pipe dream, because now you have 6 people or 7 people who are kind of progressive inside the Democratic Party. What that does is gives a false signal to workers that the Democratic Party is an opposition party. It is not. They are there to give you the false impression that it is. And that's why AOC is in the party. That's why Cory Bush is now in the party. They are not taking over this fucking party. That is not happening. Those people are head fakes inside the Democratic Party. More power to Cory Bush. It's a fool's errand to send you into the Democratic Party. You are going to be squashed. Hey, the Democrats just got Cory Bush and Jamal Bowman. We have expanded the squad so that now we have more progressives who will do exactly as Nancy Pelosi tells them.
So proud of himself.
Do you think AOC has the balls to call out Nancy Pelosi?
She literally just did.
All right. Well, we got yes. I mean, she's literally just did.
She just on the eve of Biden's victory had the balls to critique the Democratic Party on cable news and in an extensive New York Times interview where no one else is doing that. But yeah, let's vilify the only people who are fighting for us.
Yeah. In that New York Times interview, she makes a point saying, like, I don't even know if I want to do politics because of what the Democratic Party is doing to her. The point is, she's actually proving that, right? Like, she's actually doing the work to, they might run her out. I hope she doesn't. I hope she's in this for the long haul. But she's actually doing the work. So if you do have that perspective, you actually can't just sit on a YouTube show predicting stuff and shitting on people.
No. It's so much easier to just be an outsider and critique the people who are doing the hardest thing imaginable, standing up to both Republican and Democratic establishments and doing it without corporate money from the ground up. But no, you get to feel morally superior because your Patreon subscribers are paying you to just crap on Democrats. No, Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard is apparently his alternative.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Tulsi
The true champion of the working people who's going to stick it to Pelosi, who's on her way out of Congress.
Who endorsed Biden.
Yeah.
Here's what's also sort of just incredibly nihilistic about it. First off, as that gap between Republicans and Democrats decreases, right, the power of the squad goes up. 6-7 votes, are very close to making a majority. Now, if this moron, who I think at last check was, promoting the Green Party, if this moron wanted to use any of the massive audience that he has, he would have the Green Party or help a Green Party congressional candidate. Because all you need now is 3 or 4 of them. And they could be basically leverage those 6 or 7 people. This guy, we'll talk about depoliticization. This guy has such a complete disregard for the politics that exists today. It is literally like just saying he might as well be talking about that, I know people are flying in planes now. Okay. But air flight is not real until humans can fly. I mean, that's basically what he's saying. They're not really flying. They're in planes. When humans can fly, then we are flying. I mean, put up, this is also what is, I really got me going today. Put up that tweet. I spent an hour on the phone with this guy when he called in because he was upset that I was mocking him, or not mocking him, actually. To be fair, I was actually taking him quite seriously. I can assure you that during that interview, and people can go back and look at it, I was getting IMs from people that I care about saying, don't be too mean with him. Do not destroy him too badly. Literally, the quote was, don't take the headshot. even though it was just sitting right there throughout this entire debate with him, where his whole plan was that Hillary Clinton was going to lose. And then at the time he was like, and then we'll get Elizabeth Warren in there. And the Republican Party is going to destroy Donald Trump, and they're going to fall apart. We're going to win in 2022. We're going to win in 2018.
Yeah,
we're going to take over.
That's why Trump was better for progressives than Hillary Clinton.
We're going to take over the Supreme Court because these Democrats, who I think are feckless, are going to finally build a spine and take over the party. I mean, look, because I was arguing like Democrats are feckless. They're not going to be able to stop 3 Supreme Court justices. And he told me that was the equivalent of the moon, worrying about the moon falling in Lake Michigan. This guy is so stupid when it comes to politics. I'm totally in favor of him holding a sign up and promoting any of his causes, but his analysis is completely disempowering. If you as a progressive, and even if you're like, frankly, like I mean, I can understand to a certain extent if you're radical to the point where you don't want any of this to exist, that's fine. That represents, with all due respect, a very, very small portion of the American populace.
For now.
But be that as it may, the idea that there is no value in having a slowly growing band of insurgents who have taken out parts of the Democratic leadership, right? And there's no value there. Then there's value in what exactly? Go put it. This is amazing because he's attacking that Dilbert dude. And Scott Adams says one Trump accomplishment that no one credits him for is getting the public to be more engaged in the political process. This was literally like
his
one of
argument.
the talking points of Jimmy Dore's at the time. It was like, people are going to care and there's going to be a revolution because Donald Trump is going to be so horrible. And my greatest fear was like, I've been down this road before. I know what happens after you have a horrible Republican president. You get you get backsliding on the Democratic part. And he goes, one accomplishment of lung cancer is that people now care more about air quality standards. Yes, a lot of people think I'm a wicked smart. That's exactly what I said to Jimmy Dore. I didn't use that analogy. That would have been a good one. But this guy is so turned around in the BS he's espousing. I mean, what is his...
Well, this is what happens when we're talking about depoliticization, as you mentioned. This is what happens when the consequences of politics are not intertwined with your commentary on politics. It's all about which team and which personality you don't like. And Nancy Pelosi, we all don't like. So, everyone's under the umbrella of her. And God forbid, AOC called her mama bear one time. And yet substantively on the actual issues, she's combating her regularly. So he's going to demonize people of color and women, all of these people who are being brave and bucking the party establishment, so everyone can kind of feel angry and direct their ire towards specific personalities, divorcing that from the ideas that they're pushing and the material conditions on the ground of how they would help people in Congress. But no, now they're on the same team as Pelosi, and we don't like Pelosi, right? So discard them.
It's a very simplistic analysis, obviously. But I will say, I am deeply agnostic about electoral tactics as a way to
we're not talking about electoral tactics. We're not talking about electoral tactics.
Yes.
We're talking about legislatively and how you build power within a party. And within the context of the Congress, if I have 7 votes, if I have a block of 6 or 7 votes, and there's a 12-person majority, you can put yourself in that fulcrum. We have seen time and time and time again where like so-called moderate Dems or conservative Dems in the Senate have done this. Joe Lieberman did it with the Affordable Care Act. If it wasn't for Joe Lieberman deciding he needs to be the power position, he was just doing it so that he could make sure that he was relevant at that time. But we would have had a 55, you could buy into Medicare at age 55. Now, that is insufficient, but I can tell you 2 years from now, 1 year from now, that would make a big difference in my life, buy into Medicare. I mean, a huge difference. And particularly in like a situation like COVID, where you have a lot of people who are age 55 and can't get back, or after the financial crisis in 2008, you can't get back into the job force. The idea that you could get health insurance. we should have Medicare for all, but the difference is substantial. And to not acknowledge or recognize how our government works, like this is why he is like Alex Jones, because he's basically saying the only solution to this is down this sort of wormhole where you just realize there are forces that you cannot combat, even if you have people like Cory Bush or AOC. Like who, like what is, if it's not the answer to build that power,
What's his?
Well,
what is the answer?
This is what I'm saying. What he's saying is vague enough so that there are probably smart leftists out there who might be like, oh yeah, I guess I kind of agree with that. But you need to put forth an alternate plan to build class power and to create progress. And that is something that he has not done.
Yeah.
Right. That is different from like my recent Antifa against angry workers. They are deeply skeptical of Jeremy Corbynism, the labor movement, in its ability to, I mean, they failed to mobilize working class voters. And they were saying, hey, what should we do instead? We moved to a working class neighborhood for 6 years. We got jobs at Amazon. We got jobs at food manufacturing factories. We talked to people. We met them. We organized on the job. We developed an analysis of the food supply to London. And then we wrote a 1,000-page book about what we did and about, exactly what workers need to be doing in order to build autonomous power. That is something I have not seen from Jimmy Dore.
Okay. But I mean,
that's an understatement.
But it is an understatement. And here's my point. That would be the equivalent of me saying that is bullshit because we just saw Jeremy Corbyn lose power and therefore their book didn't do anything. As opposed to like what vision of for people who want a policy set or a revolution or whatnot, what is the vision of where AOC or Cory Bush or that squad, the existence of those people there is problematic. No, it's like I can come up with you could say it's certainly insufficient, but and I think anybody who says like we've reached nirvana now that they're there, okay, we're done, that's also ridiculous. But in what vision of even the most radical change that you want in this country, when you talk about depletization as a failure of imagination of what could be, in what vision of that is it not a good thing? Is it not a net positive to have people like that actually taking power, becoming the number 3 fundraiser in the country, becoming basically the most popular politician in the country or well-known politician in the country? Like, in what way is that a negative?
No, I don't think it is at all. I think it certainly couldn't hurt. It might be helpful. And I think there's really no way to know for sure, except in retrospect, how helpful it actually was. But I'm not mad at it.
But this is what bugs me. This is what bugs me about Jimmy Dore is he's not talking to those leftists. He exists to smear the left as naive about all this stuff. When guess what? I've never said I'm confident we're going to take over the Democratic Party. I just see that that's where actually the work's being done. I don't see where the work is being done by any of these other people. I think the squad is actually one of the best signs for progress in the last decade, frankly, in a lot of demobilization. We talk about these massive protests, right? There's massive protests against the Iraq war. That still went on. We need to have serious, people to actually take power. And again, I think Jimmy Dore, he's not speaking to the left. Look at his comments. He's speaking to right wingers that want to shit on the left all the time. Yeah. So I don't even like to entertain him as a part of the left.
Well, I know. I mean that he's not a part of the left anymore, basically, and that's what happens when you feel you have created this brand of outrage towards the left purely, which seems disproportionate to the reaction and his commentary on the right. I don't know. I don't watch what he does, but that's what happens. He made
fun of the Dilbert guy for having the exact same opinion about Donald Trump, but 4 years later. So there's that.
Right. It's a brand where you feel superior while offering no solutions, which makes you not a serious person.
Well, his popularity, I think, just goes to show you that people really are they're disillusioned and they're angry and they're looking for some way to funnel that into an analysis, and Jimmy Dore is providing a very simplistic one that might feel emotionally satisfying, but
Definitely
what does it do
emotion
at the end
is
of
a
the day?
great
Yes.
Jamie, I think that's emotionally satisfying is exactly right. Like it's just a way, it's not actual political analysis, it's just a rage outlet.
Yeah, it's
and I think
And often directed at women. I mean, that's kind of some of what I see. Yeah.
I would say also that like we got to keep it in perspective. I mean, the reason why I talk about Jimmy Dore is just because we used to fish in the same pools, and I think less and less. But like, whatever it is, whatever that show is with the from Crooked Media, the Pod Save America, they get a much bigger audience, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and and Joe Rogan gets a much bigger audience. I mean, it's not terribly dissimilar on some level, feeding some of the same impulses on some level, but at least Rogan corrects himself.
I mean, he balances the equation so you can end like, everything's corrupt, I can just sit on my ass. That's fundamentally the Jimmy Dore message. It's nihilism. He's betting on failure.
The same thing with it's exact the same thing too with Alex Jones. It's just basically look, these people are they're changelings. They're in the Bilderberger. There is no cracking the code here until a candidate that will actually promote him decides to run, and then all of a sudden his whole edifice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Goes
I'm pretty sure, by the way, that Dorr was like affiliated with the Tulsi Gabbard campaign, and I don't really know.
Just hilarious.
And I don't know if that for a fact, but there were rumors that he was and didn't disclose it. So
his YouTube numbers certainly were.
Really?
I don't know.
That's interesting.
Well, I do know for a fact that he was very, very upset. Well, he was public about it. Like his whole thing was like, who's going to come on my show? And if they don't come on my show, then they're not good for America. I mean, honestly, what a child.
Maybe we should just invite Jimmy on. He can argue Tulsi's.
Jimmy has an open invitation to come on this program.
I just want to frame it this way.
I'll do a special episode, like any time of the day. I'll pre-record. I'll record on a phone. I will do it. Any mechanism. He's had a 4-year open invitation to come back onto the show.
Yeah, and you get to defend the squad, and he gets to defend Tulsi and whoever is part of that squad.
Absolutely.
And we'll just see whose theory of change is better.
Yeah, this guy was his last thing. This guy pretends to be a leftist in favor of workers and was just like not a nice guy to people who work behind the scenes at my old job. So really don't like him. Don't think well of him at all.
Salt the Amazon warehouse or STFU Jimmy Dore challenge.
There you go.